Hi guys, how y'all doing? It's Micah and Brittany. Micah and Mama. Can you say hi? So I wanted to film this really quickly. This is an idea that I've had for a while now before I even started the YouTube channel. Was to tell about my exclusively pumping journey. I'm an exclusively pumping mama, and this is my 7-month pumpling is what we call them. He's a pumpling. He's very plump as well, as you can tell. Yes, Micah is 7 months. He will be actually, oh my God, he'll be 8 months on June the 12th. Oh my God, that went by so fast. But I just want to talk really briefly about my journey, talk about pumping in general. It's going to be multiple parts to this. It's nothing that I can do in one night because it's a long journey. Oh, you okay? Okay, we're good. Yes, we are good. But yeah, I've been pumping for 7 months, a little bit over 7 months. So however old my baby is how long I've been pumping. My birth story, I have to tell you that to even start off. My birth story was not planned the way I wanted it to go. I wanted to give birth vaginally. All birth is natural, so I'm not going to say natural. Vaginally is how I wanted to give it, but that did not happen. This little one had no more fluid left because my water broke without me knowing. It's my first child. I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. My water broke without me knowing, I believe, that morning. And by the time we made it to the hospital, I was in labor, and they said that his heart rate started to drop. So we had to go ahead and do, excuse me, you guys are falling a little bit. We had to go ahead and do an emergency C-section, cesarean. So he came here, and I had no idea. I had always planned to breastfeed from the breast, okay? I always planned that. I had said that throughout my whole pregnancy. Me and Adrian agreed, but he got here, it was time to eat, and he had no wet diapers because I thought something was coming out, and nothing was coming out when I was trying to nurse him. So the lactation nurse said, okay, you can go and start pumping. We'll start pumping. Nothing was coming out with pumping. So they said, of course, we can supplement for right now, which means give him the formula that we have here at the hospital so that he can get the wet diapers and have the bowel movement, because, of course, babies have to have that before they're able to be released from the hospital. So he said, okay, we can supplement. Of course, they send you home with some of the formula as well, because we didn't purchase any because, again, our plan was to breastfeed from the breast to nurse him. So we tried to breastfeed when we got home. We tried it before we left the hospital. We tried to nurse at the hospital, tried to nurse here. Bean was not, he wasn't having it, guys. Excuse me, he wasn't having it. So his latch hurt. It hurt very much so. And we were not speaking on terms with each other. So I just continued to pump so that I can get my supply going, because at this point, nothing was even going, nothing was flowing, guys. So I had to come up with a way to feed this little baby right here. So one day I was pumping. I think this was probably maybe our second or third day back at home. I was pumping, and something actually came out. They call this colostrum. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I may not be pronouncing it right, but that came out first. That liquid gold, that good stuff came out. So that came out, and I was like, okay, we're on to something. So I just kept pumping throughout the day, and that's when I realized, like, I think I'm gonna exclusively pump. I had a friend, her name is Dominique. She told me that's what she did with her baby. And when I decided to do it, I spoke with her, asked her how to do it. And then I spoke with a friend, Ashley, who also has a little one. She did it. I didn't know these people were doing this. Nobody told me nothing, okay? So I said, okay, pumping is gonna be what I do. Now, with my insurance here in United States, in Texas, of course, we go through Aeroflow, which is a company that will speak to your insurance basically and let them know, okay, they want the breast pump, they're going to plan on breastfeeding, so we need to send them a pump as well, because any mom, either you're going to be nursing from the breast or you're going to be pumping as breastfeeding. Either way, you're going to have to pump some type of way, because your baby may not be with you 24/7, especially if you're a working mom like me. You have to go out to work, or even if you're working from home and your little one's taking a nap, you just never know. There may come times where you'll have to pump. So I had already got my pump. I have the Motif, bless you, my friend. I have the Motif Luna. I'm going to show you guys. It is this. No. It is this one right here, the Motif Luna. I love this pump. This is my first pump. He always chews on this, guys. This is my first pump. This is the one that does not have the rechargeable battery. This is the old school one is what they call it. But I love that pump. It has always been good to me. I've learned so much just pumping over the time. But my biggest thing is no one talks about pumping. Either you breastfeed, and breastfeeding, when they talk about the hospital, is only by nursing, or you give formula. Nobody really talks about being a pumping mom. So I had to find a group on Facebook, which I'm a part of two. It's one for Black moms, and then it's one just for exclusive pumpers overall. So I'm a part of those two. And that's when I found out like how often you should pump, how long you should pump, and how many times per day you should pump, and how long you think you'll be pumping throughout the duration. So guys, I never thought I would make it to 7 months, but here we are. I always said though, I want to pump enough and have a stash built up, which my stash, this is our deep freezer right here. Ding, ding, ding. That's the deep freezer with the stash. I'm gonna show you guys that before we finish this one. But I never thought we would make it, but I always said I wanted to have enough stored up that he could finish drinking his milk for a whole year. Now he's eating table foods and solids along with his milk, but he wants his milk. He has not stopped the milk, okay? But what do you see, friend? So yeah, I always said I wanted to pump so he can have enough stored up to finish feeding for a year. So we're almost there. I know in the pumping world, there's undersupplier, there's just enougher, and there's an oversupplier. I'm right here in between a just enougher and an oversupplier. And basically an oversupply means once your baby has had their bottles for the whole day and you've pumped for your day and you filled up their bottles that they're going to have for the next day. If you do that, I know some moms do it, but I fill up my bottles every night for the next day. If you've done that and you have milk left over, you, my friend, are an oversupplier. I'm a slight oversupplier. Some people have 10, 12, 15, 20 ounces left over. I have a good between 8, 9, and 10. I've had about 12 at the most left over. And what I do, whatever you have left over in your increments that you want to freeze it, they say between 3 and 4, I freeze 5 to 6 ounces per bag because my bags are big enough for that. You freeze it and you store it to use at a later date. And for me, freezing the milk and having the stash has been awesome when me and Adrian, yes, when me and Adrian go off for our weekends, or if we have date night, if he stays with my mom or with his aunt, then I will give them a brick of milk. Here you go, defrost this, give him his milk. So it's always worked out for us, but here's my main point of this video, guys. So I've gone against the grain when it comes to being an exclusively pumping mom, because when I started off, they said when you're pumping for a newborn, you should pump at least guys, 8 to 10 times a day. I don't know how they figured I was going to do that. And moms, if you are not doing that, or if you're struggling with doing that at this current time, because that's a lot of, guys, we have limited hours throughout the day where we can have time to just do this. Exhale, okay? Not just breathing, because we're breathing right now. You're watching this, you're breathing. Hey, man, I'm talking about exhale and take a break. We barely have that throughout the day, okay? Barely have that. Maybe when you go pee, that's when you have that time. And with a newborn, Adrian was working so much when he first came into the world. It was primarily me on my maternity leave, trying to keep him together, trying to make sure he's fed, in between pumping, in between cleaning the house, in between cooking, because I got to eat to keep the calories up. And he dropped his pacifier. We'll pick that up in a minute. So, yeah, I didn't have time to pump for that long. It was not going to happen. So, you know how many times I pumped and still pump? 4 times a day. Early morning, mid-morning, afternoon time before I get off work. It's usually about between 4 and 4:30, and at nighttime before we go to bed. That's the schedule I've always kept, and it has fed this baby. And we have the freezer stash, okay? I'm going to explain more of that as time goes on, but definitely here are key points to this video because we're about to end it, okay? You have to pick the breastfeeding journey that works for you. Either be nursing, either be pumping. Because yes, pumping is breastfeeding as well. Because guess what? You're feeding your baby with milk that comes from where? Your breast. So what are they doing? They're breastfeeding. We breastfeed the babies. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, that's what I thought. Yes, yes. So pumping is breastfeeding. And if you don't agree, that's fine. Swipe. You can move on to the next video. That's good. God bless you too. Love y'all. Okay, anywho. So yes, pumping is breastfeeding. You have to figure out which journey works for you. And if you are pumping, because I can only talk about pumping, I've never nursed. Never got a chance to nurse. We attempted a few times. It did not work for us. So I had to pick another journey to get him his best that he needs, okay? Don't do that on camera. Oh my gosh. Had to give him the best that he needs, and that was pumping for us. You have to figure out a schedule that works for you, okay? Everyone will tell you something different, and I'm going to say this. Everybody, which means everybody, every woman's body is different. You can be an oversupplier. You can be an undersupplier. You can be just enougher. You can be a slight oversupplier, slight just enough. Whatever works for you. But here's the biggest takeaway, okay? As long as your baby is fed, this was most important, okay? So figure out what works for you. I have some video footage of how I prep my bottles. I have footage of how I do the picture method throughout the day because I follow ladies on Instagram that taught me that as well. Picture method. Got it. The picture method throughout the day where I combine my pump milk basically into one pitcher after it chills in another bottle because you know when it comes out it's warm. So you got to chill it in a bottle first before you combine it with the cool down milk. That's just what you do to reduce the risk of any bacteria flowing, okay? So we have that. And let me see what else. Oh, freezer stash. So I have to organize my freezer stash, but let me show you. Dun, dun, dun. That's sound effects. Y'all like that? Okay, anywho. This is the freezer stash, okay? So, November. It's best you can keep your milk frozen for at least, oh, no, I would say maximum is 12 months. I'm going to do the research and I will quote that for you guys later. This is going to be a continuing segment because this is the freezer stash. This is the top of the freezer, guys, okay? Okay? It is a blessing to be able to produce milk. I wish y'all could see the bottom of it, but it goes all the way to the bottom. Okay, let me show you how tall the deep freezer. Maybe we can get a visual picture of that, okay? Yeah. That's the deep freezer. That's the stash. I need to organize it, okay? Y'all keep me lifted. I got to organize. But yes, that's that. Sugarfoot, I think we're out, my love.